ready? All right, we're back here on the show, and there's Mr. Ito is joining us here.
Ito.
Hello,
That's
Mr.
the new
Ito.
co-host, except we couldn't put the microphone on his fur.
That's right.
Well, Mr. Ito is here with Laura Nashman, and Laura, you've got a new thing called the art and business of listening, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Mr. Ito, I
Yes.
understand, was
of the
there at the
inspiration.
inception of it. Yeah, tell us how that worked.
He's a great part of it because, of course, dogs are a man and a woman's best friend. And he happens to be my best friend. And animals have exquisite instincts. They listen acutely. They're very aware. They watch body language more than listen to words, except for such words as treats and wonderful things. But right now he isn't really paying attention. I decided after many years of playing the flute and enjoying making music that I wanted to create something that could really bring value to corporations, that would integrate skill sets of musicians' ears and even dogs' ears, that acute awareness with respect to listening. Because in business, we're so inundated and so busy that we get filled up and our inbox is filled up, our texting's going on. We arrive at meetings and interactions filled to the brim. And so the art and business of listening is really bringing skill sets from the world of music performance, from the world of acting, and bringing that forward. And being around my little canine companion for 12 years now has really brought me more of an awareness of how dogs listen, and how wouldn't that be nice if we could take a note from how dogs observe the environment and listen carefully, and bring that to our own awareness, to listen more acutely and in a more aware way.
Okay, so how do dogs listen then? So, like, what does that mean about how dogs listen?
Well, first of all, they have a much more expansive range of listening, and they're alert. They're alert to the moment. And a lot of us are caught in the past, worrying about what we've done wrong and could we have done it better, or we have anxiety about the future, and we're preoccupied beyond the moment. And so what I've learned a lot from being in the moments with my dog Ito is that every moment counts. Every moment is fully aware and present. And that if we can bring this more into our business environment, into our interactions, into our conversations, into our business meetings, as well, as you can see, Ito likes to just sort of do his own thing. And there's a sense of improvisation, there's a sense of individuality. Everything isn't by the book, but it is more improvised. And so in this program called The Art and Business of Listening, we have a terrific team on board to go out to companies, comprised of 4 of us. And we have a guitarist named Bill Bridges, a wonderful, wonderful guitarist, composer, someone with whom I've recorded and performed music for years. Jordan Clapman on piano, fantastic educator and performer of all realms of piano music, and a fantastic actor and educator in the acting profession named Chris Karshmer, and myself on flute. So Chris and I will be doing a lot of the hosting and presenting with the program, The Art and Business of Listening, with the wonderful presence of Bill Bridges and Jordan Clapman being wonderful examples of improvisation.
So how it's curious. I'm curious as to how would music help us make a more effective listener?
Yes. We as musicians actually zone into our hearing sense more than our visual sense.
Okay.
And we're very much zoned into our instincts, our kinesthetic sense.
Okay.
And so what I was hoping to achieve with this, and I've noticed some great results so far, is people, when they're given exercises with respect to listening, and they have a band in front of them, and we help signal areas where they can focus, the audience can focus. It becomes very much an interactive process, an observational process, but actually a model for teams at work and for us as individuals to actually model the support role, the leadership role, the doing a wonderful jazz riff, which could be like a very innovative moment when we're having a conversation versus sitting back and listening in full presence and awareness while somebody else is soloing, quote unquote, in a band.
Okay.
So we really use the jazz trio model as a way to demonstrate how our conversations at work can honor the one who's speaking and being the leader of the moment versus the supportive musicians or the supportive team listening. So it's a transference of roles, it's a complement of roles, and it's also generative, it's organic, because we don't know when a solo occurs, what's going to happen next, what's going to be built upon it. And same with business, if we're not just always planning things out perfectly, but leaving room for the conversation to evolve naturally, that's where the jazz musician performance model can be helpful to the business environment.
So is it fair to say then, Laura, that you're trying to encourage moving from thinking to feeling more in a business environment? Because that would seem to me, when you had that music, that you can't help but invoke this feeling, right? It communicates in a feeling?
Yes, absolutely. I think more and more the way the business world is evolving is it's becoming more tuned in to the natural and authentic basis of who we are, and being less fear-based and more open to new possibilities of creativity and innovation. And when we are in a creative realm, we are often in a very deeply feeling realm. There's the logical mind and the creative, like left brain, right brain. And so the integrating of both occurs through music making as well as through business innovation. And so yes, to answer your question in a very long way, to actually allow ourselves in teams and as individuals at work to take the risk to speak up, to be heard, to truly listen, and be in that heartfelt realm of feeling in addition to logic.
See, that makes a lot of sense to me because it's not threatening. See, when you talk about moving from your head to your heart or coming, from more of a feeling perspective in a business environment, that's like taboo. You just don't do that. But when you bring that element of music, I think it somehow takes people's guard down, and it's not as threatening to be able to, because you can't help but feel.
Yes.
And respond. Your body responds. You may not want to respond here, but you can't help but respond here.
Absolutely.
So that makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
And from power to empowerment. I know empowerment is a very well-used word in certain fields, but it seems to me that more and more, even in the TED Talks of the world, there's more and more speakers that are plugging into authenticity and empowerment and personal power through being really natural in our connections with others. And I think that the natural route is to become a much better listener so that our conversations can be empowered as team conversations rather than the boss or the leader and the followers. It's much more exchangeable, the roles exchange.
Yes. Wow, it sounds...
Well, I'm just curious because I know that often business people and corporations talk about empowerment or about some new approach that's going to, respect the employees or the other stakeholders in a company, but also I've seen in many cases where they, to really implement a systemic new approach often just doesn't happen because after the weekend is over, everybody just goes back to doing the way things they always did. And so I'm just curious, like, what's the feedback you're getting from the corporate world about your program and how they can actually implement it?
Well, the how about implementation is really something we can even take home and work with ourselves every day too, so that as we approach our business environment daily, we're taking an awareness that we're already practicing at home and on our own. And so it's just really, again, acute listening to our own thoughts and understanding that what we think about and how we speak about what we think about is really how conversations evolve. So it's to, be very aware when we're having thoughts that could be rather than progressive, destructive towards goals at work. So thinking more in a very positive, confident light about our own ability to generate change and be part of a team that generates and innovates change creatively. So the feedback I've been getting has been phenomenal. In fact, I'm very fortunate in being featured in a magazine this month, November. I think it's coming out November 15th, and it's called Ignite magazine, and it's in the, I think it's Bright Minds, New Ideas section.
Wow.
And they're very thrilled to be sharing this with their readers, and they're all conference type people and meeting planner type people who are looking for new ways to innovate and to bring productivity but creativity and innovation to the workplace. So it's been welcomed very nicely, and I think this whole edutainment model where it's educational, it's interactive, it's experiential, but it's also entertaining. It's nice to have a jazz trio on board while there's some training going on and some learning that's generative, that they can take home and continue to use. It's not just a wow experience for the day.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting thing. It's one thing to have somebody come in and talk to people in a company, but it's another thing to bring in a jazz trio. And I'm just curious, like, what is the impact of having that jazz trio there while you're giving the presentation?
People love it. People love it because most people, if they love music, there's a part of them that may enjoy jazz music. And there's a certain level of flexibility and playfulness with jazz music, so that to witness people in the workplace having a jazz trio come to them, it sort of immediately puts them into a state of club, you know, having fun.
Yes.
And as we all know, that learning usually occurs the most rapidly when we're in a state of joy or laughter. That's why a lot of professional trainers get a room into a state of laughter or fun and then start teaching, because the guard has gone down,
Yes,
people are more
for
relaxed
sure.
and receptive. So in the same way, having a jazz trio on board not only is instructive or as a model of successful teamwork, it's also a way for people to relax while being in a training environment that's very experiential and role play.
So in terms of the experiential aspect of it, how is it? What kinds of things do you do? Do they
Yeah, what does it
sing?
look like?
Yeah.
Describe what it looks like when you go into a company. And you've
I don't
got
want
a
to
bunch
give
of
away the
people there.
surprise, but all I can say is that the company walks into the room and there's a jazz club in their morning workspace.
Wow.
And as they walk in, they discover what's going to unfold after that, but they know they're at a training, but they're also aware that there's music
People are
occurring
not
as
caught
they
off
walk in.
guard. Like, are people caught off guard? They're not expecting. When people know they're going to a training,
Yes.
but they have no clue as to there's jazz musicians here.
They may know a little bit about that.
Okay.
There's going to be some entertainment at it.
Okay, okay.
But I don't really want to give it away because it
Okay.
is something to be unfolded and discovered. But what I can say is that there are role plays that occur where people are in couples of two in the workplace.
Wow.
And there are some breakout groups of 4 or 5 or 6 people. And then there's examples of music and then conversations with the room about how that is transferable into the team experience. So there's a lot of creativity and innovation and a lot of, I would say, even organic process going on in each and every workshop. It's not all by the book. We have a model, but then we also play with the room.
Okay.
So that's what, you know, engenders more spontaneity within the training.
Go ahead.
Well, okay. I just want to ask because, I mean, your website's called Performance Charisma, and I want to know what the relationship is between this particular workshop,
Yes.
the art and business of listening, with performance charisma. Like, what is performance charisma exactly? And how do they relate? Yeah.
Thank you. Performance charisma was 2 words, is the coupling of 2 words that are very important to me. So I created the website based on high-level performance in any art form or business or science. We all want to be at our best. In our core, we know that we can do our best, and when we choose to, we're at high-level performance.
Yeah.
So part of the training is to really suggest to all of us that we have the potential to be at our best when we choose to and when we have the tools and we make it a routine and habit to work towards our best. Charisma is something that we all, it's that je ne sais quoi. What is charisma? And we all have different definitions. Some people would say vibrancy, color, innovation, igniting some sort of magnetism between people. Charisma is that special je ne sais quoi, and I would say that with the coupling of performance charisma, it really allows us the tools as individuals to lend that to giving our best performance in our most authentic, dynamic way. And so under that umbrella of performance charisma is the art and business of listening, and there will be other courses that we're developing under performance charisma. That is just sort of the umbrella title for all of these performance-based, communications-based trainings and keynotes we'll be doing.
So you have a lot of background in the artistic, the creative side. So you obviously, this is about business, so this is about team building. So what kind of background do you have that would lend itself towards the corporate culture so that they would understand what you're doing?
Yes. Well, it's interesting. Years ago, I used to train horses when I was 10 years old, and that doesn't sound corporate at all. Some corporations support the Royal Winter Fair and things like that, but I don't know the connection other than I learned at an early age that riding horses and training a green horse that doesn't know how to jump, doesn't know how to gallop, to do so is a form of leadership. It's a form of transferring an innate inner power, inner sense of being, to being able to convince an animal to do something cooperatively. So in the business world, I believe there's a subtlety of connection when we want to lead, and it's not through dictatorship, it's truly through having an instinct with those with whom we're working. And in that case, as a child, it was with a horse. Then I started training my dog and make short movies. And he's very good on camera and very trainable. And I'm just thinking...
He's got charisma.
He does. And he has some wonderful sites. One is dogumentaryfilms.com. And we did a very short film that Deepa Mehta actually awarded the most... what was it? The best film by female director or most ambitious film by female director at the TUFF, which is the Toronto Urban Film Festival. And that was just a minute of Ito going through the city, being a dog, but I was off camera leading him. So getting back to your question about how does this relate to the corporate environment, I've spent many years just going out to the corporate environment and helping them with listening because I have a background in neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
So I'm a master practitioner, and I also have my trainer's training from the founder, Richard Bandler. So a lot of people in the business world, when you hear about NLP, they say, oh, we know a bit about that. So I get into explaining further language patterns, the predicates we use, such as I would like to do this, or I should do this, or I want to do this, or I need to do this. Language patterns can really dictate the direction of our motions in life. So when I go into corporations, I help them with language patterns and noticing how they use words, how they connect. And so that's part of the training as well.
So it's the words you choose in your speaking.
Yes.
And you also focus a lot on the listening.
Yes.
So the various elements of listening. Can you talk a little bit about the elements?
Absolutely. As a musician and also as a specialist in NLP, I integrate the two when I'm working with corporate individuals, and that will also be part of the art and business of listening and performance charisma, a really important part, in fact. So when we ask questions, we listen for the predicates that people are using, and you can really hear from where the person you're speaking with is coming from. So I really need to do this, or I want to do this, or I'd like to, or you can hear hesitation, you can hear proactivity, you can hear so much in how people use their language. And so I help empower people to have better conversations through noticing their internal languaging and what they use with others and what others use with them. So there's a great linguistic component, and we can become better communication leaders when we use our language more with more awareness.
So it's not even so much if I'm hearing listening correctly, it's as much or not so much even necessarily about what they're saying, but how people are saying it.
And that's where the business of where the music of listening comes in, where the nuance is, where the tonality is, where the speed where the rhythm of the voice is, where the hesitation, where the levels of urgency in some are, and where the calmness in others are. So it's not, the expression sometimes goes, it's not just what you say, but it's how you say it. So I also help people in the training, in the art and business of listening, is to have an artful ear to listen to subtle nuances that say so much more than just the words alone.
Right.
So.
It seems like people have different, like some people, well, everyone naturally, to a certain extent, already gets that. Or some people get it better than others, right? Some people might have a real ear for that already, and other people might not have much of an ear for those subtle cues at all.
Yes.
How do you, well, I guess it's like anything. You can teach it, right? But it's, I mean, some people have a natural propensity to get that better than others, I would think.
That's right. See, some people are made to be musicians or actors, and others, like you said, may not have the natural propensity. But we can all learn something from other fields. So that's why we have the jazz trio on board, because music can be a really great example of tonality. And we will indicate some examples of different tones and what's more appealing and why isn't this. And then we translate that into the breakout groups and the role plays of using different voices and using different predicates and how that affects your listener. So there are actual practical examples at the course using music and listening.
I would really love actually to have your jazz people here and actually do a little interaction with you, with the group.
Sure.
And just to get, not just talk about it, but actually to experience a little bit of the art and business of listening.
True.
Do you have anything like that, like a little video piece where you show, when you introduce this, when you pitch this, I guess, to a corporation, do you have any, how do you do that? Do you have a little video to give us a sample of what you do? Is that?
We will. We're developing one way. The nice thing about the musicians that I've been working with is they're really very busy musicians. So some of them have been on the road recently, so we have to coordinate our schedules to get together and do the video because we're all doing our different things. So yes, we will have clips of that available eventually.
Because maybe if you could do that here, then you would have one.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, if we could get them all in the room at the same time, we could actually
and I'm sure we can
do
arrange
it.
that for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially if they're working musicians, they're usually around in the daytime, right?
If they're not on tour. And one of them plays, my friend Bill Bridges, the guitarist whom I've been working with for 25 years, he's a guitarist in a beautiful band called Bowfire. And that's led by Lenny Solomon, the violinist. And it's comprised of many, many strings. And it's sort of like river dance, but with violins and guitar and jazz piano. And they go on the road and do big shows. So he's off the road right now, but goes back on and off. So yeah, so I'll and he also played in the most recent, there was a musical, Cats in Town, and so now that's finished. But he was during the day doing Cats matinees and evening performances. Did you enjoy it?
I did. It was great. It was really good. It was a wonderful time. But he's not as famous as
Mr. Ito.
Yes,
He doesn't have a first name.
He doesn't need one. He's that
not.
famous. He does not need a name. He doesn't need any name. Just hey you.
He also has a lovely site called The Doggy Llama, DOGGIELAMA.ca.
And that's why I saw you bowing to him when you walked in.
No. I was just picking up a bone.
TheDoggyLama.com?
.ca. Yeah,
Cool.
And documentaryfilms.com.
Right.
Documentary. Wow.
Well,
amazing.
Laura, this has been great, and I wish you all the best with this project. And I would love to get you guys in and actually experience it a little bit. But in the meantime, if somebody is interested and they want to get in touch and maybe find out more, what website would they go to find out about, well, we know what it is, right? It's
called performancecharisma.com.
So that's just all one word.
That's correct. And they can also try me on the business line, which is 416-924-8180.
Okay.
And the site is just doing a little bit of development, so it will be up by the end of this week, Friday, the 15th of November.
Right.
Yes.
And besides, if people see this on YouTube anyway, it's probably already up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a brilliant concept. I think it can do a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're looking forward to doing more of these. Thank you.
Okay. So let's take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back with Sunshine Dave, but in the meantime,
another Hollow Earth?
no, they found an alien base somewhere, maybe in Antarctica. That's number 2.
Is that maybe where the opening to the hollow earth is?
That's right.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we'll be right back.
I think if it's warm in the hollow earth, we should all go there.